Let me tell you something that might surprise you. For decades, you have heard the same advice from every doctor, every nutritionist, and every health article you have ever read. Eat your vegetables. Load your plate with greens. The more plants, the better. And honestly, that advice is beautiful. It is simple. And for most of your life, it has served you well. But here is what almost no one tells you. After the age of 60, your body begins to process certain foods in ways that are completely different from when you were 40 or 50. And vegetables, as innocent as they seem, are not exempt from this change. In fact, some of the most common vegetables found in senior grocery carts right now could be quietly contributing to joint inflammation, kidney stress, or even dangerous interactions with medications you take every single morning. I am Dr. Narges, and on this channel, we do not do fear. We do not do hype. We do calm, honest, science-based conversations about how to age well without confusion or contradiction. And today, we are going to talk about something that might challenge what you believe about healthy eating. 3 vegetables you should never touch after 60, and 3 you absolutely must eat. Now, before we go any further, I want to make you a promise. Stick with me through this entire video, because in the final section, I am going to share something truly valuable. A simple, practical rule that you can use at any grocery store, any farmer's market, or any kitchen to know instantly whether a vegetable is working for you or against you after 60. No complicated lists, no memorizing 50 different studies, just one clear principle that protects your health every time you sit down to eat. That is coming at the end, and I promise you will want to hear it. But first, let us start with the vegetable that concerns me the most for people over 60. And I will be honest with you. When I tell my patients about this one, their eyes usually get wide because they have been eating it for years, thinking it was their healthiest choice. I am talking about raw spinach. Now wait, before you react, please hear me out. I am not telling you that spinach is poison. Spinach is a wonderful leafy green, and for younger bodies, it is packed with iron and vitamins. But after 60, something changes. Spinach is extremely high in something called oxalates. Oxalates are natural compounds found in many plants, and in most people, the body handles them just fine. The kidneys process them and they leave the body through urine. No problem. But as we age, kidney function naturally declines. Not dramatically for everyone, but enough that the kidneys become less efficient at filtering out these oxalates. And when oxalates build up in the body, they can bind with calcium to form tiny crystals. Over time, those crystals can contribute to 2 problems that no one over 60 wants. 1, kidney stones, and 2, joint inflammation that looks a lot like arthritis, but is actually being driven by what you ate for dinner last night. I have had patients come into my office complaining of mysterious joint pain. They have seen rheumatologists. They have tried anti-inflammatory medications, and no one ever asked them about spinach. But when we looked at their diet, they were eating large raw spinach salads every single day because they thought it was the ultimate health food. And within a few weeks of reducing that habit, their pain improved. Not because spinach is bad, but because their 65-year-old kidneys simply could not keep up with the oxalate load anymore. And here is another layer. If you take blood thinners like warfarin, which many people over 60 do for atrial fibrillation or previous blood clots, spinach becomes even more complicated. It is extremely high in vitamin K, which directly affects how your blood thinner works. Eating a large spinach salad can actually make your medication less effective, putting you at risk for blood clots or stroke. This is not speculation. This is basic pharmacology. And yet, how many people have been told this clearly? So when I say never touch, what do I actually mean? I mean never touch large amounts of raw spinach on a regular basis. An occasional small amount mixed into a smoothie or cooked into a dish is very different from a daily giant salad. Cooking spinach significantly reduces its oxalate content, by the way. That is an important distinction. The danger comes from consistently eating it raw in large portions. And for someone over 60, that is a risk you simply do not need to take when there are better, safer options available. So that is vegetable number 1 to be very careful with. raw spinach. But I want you to notice something. We are not done. There are two more common vegetables that most people would never suspect, and one of them is sitting in almost every senior kitchen right now. In fact, this next vegetable is often recommended by well-meaning friends as a superfood for aging. And the truth is much more complicated. But before I reveal number 2, let me remind you why this matters so much. We are not trying to create a long list of foods to fear. That is not how I practice medicine, and that is not how we do things here. What we are doing is something much more useful. We are learning that your body at 60 is not your body at 40. And honoring that change is not a loss. It is wisdom. It is how you continue to feel good, stay active, and protect your independence for decades to come. So if raw spinach is the first vegetable to be careful with, stay with me. Because vegetable number 2 is going to surprise you even more. And vegetable number 3 might be the most controversial thing I say all year. Let us take a gentle breath together. Because what we just talked about with raw spinach may have stirred something in you. Maybe you thought, oh no, I eat spinach almost every day. Or maybe you felt a little frustrated thinking, another thing I have to worry about. I want you to hear me clearly. You have done nothing wrong. You were following the best advice available. The problem is not you. The problem is that most health advice treats everybody the same, and your body after 60 is beautifully, uniquely different. So no guilt, no shame, just information that helps you make a small shift for a big result. Now, let me tell you about vegetable number 2. And I will be honest with you, this one breaks my heart a little because it is a vegetable I genuinely love. But love does not change biology. And when we are talking about healthy aging, we have to be brave enough to look at the evidence, even when it challenges what feels comfortable. I am talking about raw kale. Yes, kale, the superfood that took over the world. For the last 15 years, kale has been celebrated as the king of leafy greens. And for good reason. It is packed with vitamins A, C, and K. It has antioxidants. It has fiber. It is everything a younger body could want. But here is what the smoothie bowls and the detox plans never mentioned. Kale is also extremely high in oxalates, just like spinach. In fact, cup for cup, raw kale contains even more oxalates than raw spinach in some varieties. And for someone over 60, that same kidney stress and joint inflammation risk applies. But there is something else about kale that makes it even more problematic for older adults. Kale belongs to a family of vegetables called cruciferous vegetables. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and kale are all in this family. And cruciferous vegetables contain natural compounds called goitrogens. Goitrogens are substances that can interfere with thyroid function, specifically the thyroid's ability to take up iodine. Now, for a young, healthy thyroid, this is rarely an issue. But after 60, thyroid function often slows down naturally. Millions of adults over 60 are already on thyroid medication like levothyroxine, and eating large amounts of raw kale every day can make it harder for your thyroid medication to work effectively. I have seen this pattern so many times in my practice. A patient comes in with fatigue, brain fog, weight gain, and low energy. Their thyroid labs look borderline. They are already on medication, but they still do not feel right. And when I ask about their diet, they proudly tell me they start every morning with a green smoothie packed with raw kale. They think they are doing everything right, and they are. But their body is silently struggling. The goitrogens in that raw kale are competing with their thyroid medication, reducing its absorption and effectiveness. And the oxalates are adding an extra layer of inflammation on top. Now please hear me carefully. I am not telling you to never eat kale again. That is not who I am. But I am telling you that eating large amounts of raw kale on a regular basis is a gamble you do not need to take. There are two important exceptions. Cooking kale dramatically reduces both its oxalate content and its goitrogenic compounds. So a small amount of cooked kale in a soup or a stir fry is very different from a raw kale salad or a daily smoothie. Also, If your thyroid function is completely normal and you have no history of kidney stones or joint inflammation, you may tolerate kale just fine. But here is my question to you. Why take the risk when there are safer, gentler vegetables that give you the same or better benefits without the hidden downsides? I will tell you about those safer options soon. But first, we need to talk about vegetable number 3. And I have to warn you, this one may be the most surprising of all, because this vegetable is not a trendy superfood. It is an old, humble, everyday vegetable that has been on dinner plates for generations, and most people would never ever suspect it could be a problem after 60. Vegetable number 3 is raw beets. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, beets? But beets are supposed to be good for blood pressure. Beets are full of nitrates that improve circulation. Beets are recommended for heart health. And you are absolutely right. Beets do have wonderful benefits. They are rich in nitrates, which your body converts to nitric oxide, a molecule that helps relax blood vessels and lower blood pressure. For many people, that is a beautiful thing. But here is what no one tells you. Beets are also extremely high in oxalates. In fact, beetroot has one of the highest oxalate concentrations of any common vegetable, even higher than spinach in some measurements. And for someone over 60 with even mild kidney function decline, those oxalates can accumulate and cause problems. But there is something else about beets that is even more important for older adults to understand. Beets are very high in potassium, and potassium is normally a good thing. It helps regulate blood pressure and supports muscle function. However, many people over 60 take medications that affect how their body handles potassium. Common blood pressure medications like ACE inhibitors, ARBs, and certain diuretics can cause your body to retain potassium. If you eat a large serving of raw beets or drink beet juice while taking these medications, you can push your potassium levels too high. And dangerously high potassium, a condition called hyperkalemia, can cause muscle weakness, irregular heart rhythms, and in severe cases, cardiac arrest. This is not a theoretical risk. I have seen patients admitted to the hospital with dangerously high potassium levels because they started drinking beet juice every morning after reading about its blood pressure benefits online. They were trying to help themselves, and they ended up in the emergency room. Not because beets are poison, but because their medication and their kidney function could not handle the load. So when I say never touch raw beets in large amounts, this is what I mean. A few small, cooked beet slices on a salad once a week is unlikely to cause harm for most people. But a daily glass of beet juice or a large raw beet salad every day is a real risk for anyone over 60 with kidney concerns or on potassium-sparing medications. Now, I want you to notice something important. All 3 vegetables we have discussed so far share a common theme. They are not inherently bad. They are just too concentrated in certain compounds that the aging body struggles to process: oxalates, goitrogens, and potassium. None of these are toxins. They are natural plant compounds. But after 60, your body's ability to handle high loads of these compounds decreases. And that is not a failure. That is simply how time works. So what should you eat instead? I promised you 3 vegetables you must eat after 60, and I am going to give you those now. But remember my promise from the beginning. The real gift comes at the end. A simple rule that ties everything together and makes all of this easy to remember. So stay with me, because the best is still coming. Vegetable number 1 that you should eat regularly after 60 is steamed asparagus. Asparagus is low in oxalates, gentle on the kidneys, and packed with something called inulin, a type of fiber that feeds the good bacteria in your gut. A healthy gut microbiome becomes more and more important as you age, because it affects everything from your immune system to your mood to your ability to absorb nutrients from other foods. Asparagus is also a natural source of glutathione, one of your body's most important antioxidants. And here is a beautiful bonus. Asparagus contains compounds that act as natural diuretics, helping your kidneys flush out waste products without the harsh side effects of medication. It supports kidney health rather than stressing it. Vegetable number 2 is cooked zucchini. Zucchini is incredibly low in oxalates and very gentle on digestion. After 60, many people experience slower digestion, bloating, and constipation. Zucchini, especially when cooked, provides soft, easily digestible fiber that helps keep things moving without irritation. It is also rich in vitamin B6, which supports nerve health and helps regulate homocysteine levels, an amino acid linked to heart disease and cognitive decline. You can roast it, steam it, or add it to soups and stews. The key is to cook it well, which makes its nutrients more available and its fiber gentler on your system. Vegetable number 3 is roasted bell peppers, especially the red and yellow varieties. Bell peppers are low in oxalates, low in goitrogens, and very low in potassium compared to beets. But they are incredibly high in vitamin C, which supports your immune system, helps your body absorb iron from other foods, and plays a critical role in collagen production for healthy skin, joints, and blood vessels. After 60, your body's natural vitamin C levels often decline, not because you are not eating enough, but because absorption becomes less efficient. Bell peppers give you a concentrated, gentle source of this essential vitamin without the hidden risks of higher oxalate vegetables. They are also rich in carotenoids, which support eye health and protect against age-related macular degeneration. So let us pause here and appreciate what we have. 3 vegetables to be careful with: raw spinach, raw kale, and raw beets in large amounts. And 3 vegetables to embrace: steamed asparagus, cooked zucchini, and roasted bell peppers. But I told you there was a bigger gift waiting at the end. A simple rule that makes all of this feel easy rather than overwhelming. That rule is coming right now. You have made it this far with me, and I want you to know that I appreciate your attention. We are talking about something that genuinely matters. Not because vegetables are dangerous, they are not, but because understanding how your body changes after 60 is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself. And the fact that you are still here tells me you are someone who takes your health seriously. Not with fear, not with obsession, but with thoughtful, calm curiosity. That is exactly the kind of person I made this channel for. So let me give you what I promised. The simple rule that makes all of this easy to remember and even easier to apply. Because I do not want you walking around with a mental list of vegetables to avoid and vegetables to eat. That is exhausting. And frankly, it is not sustainable. What you need is a principle. One guiding light that works for every vegetable, every meal, and every stage of your life after 60. Here it is. The rule is this: cook your vegetables more often than you eat them raw. And when you do eat them raw, eat them in small amounts as part of a varied meal, never as the main event. That is it. That is the entire secret. Cooking changes everything. It breaks down oxalates. It reduces goitrogenic compounds. It softens fiber so your digestive system does not have to work as hard. And in many cases, it actually makes the nutrients more available to your body. For example, cooked tomatoes release more lycopene. Cooked carrots release more beta-carotene. Cooked asparagus makes its folate and glutathione more absorbable. So when I tell you to be careful with raw spinach, raw kale, and raw beets, what I am really saying is be careful with large amounts of raw vegetables in general. The 3 I named are simply the highest in oxalates and other compounds that challenge the aging body. But the principle applies across the board. Think about it this way. A 30-year-old digestive system has strong stomach acid, rapid transit time, and highly efficient kidneys. That person can eat a massive raw kale salad with shredded raw beets and a handful of raw spinach, and their body will handle it without complaint. But a 65-year-old digestive system has slightly weaker stomach acid, slower transit time, and kidneys that have been filtering for 6 decades. That same meal becomes a burden. Not because you are broken, not because you are unhealthy, but because your body is asking for a different kind of support now. And cooking is that support. Now I want to be very specific so there is no confusion. When I say cook your vegetables, I do not mean fry them in heavy oils or boil them into a sad gray mush. That is not what we are doing here. Gentle cooking methods like steaming, roasting, sautéing with a small amount of olive oil, or adding to soups and stews preserve flavor, texture, and nutrients while making the vegetables safer and more digestible. Steaming is probably the best all-around method because it softens without leaching nutrients into water. Roasting brings out natural sweetness and adds depth, and slow cooking in a stew or curry allows the vegetables to release their goodness into the broth while becoming tender and easy to digest. Let me give you an example. Remember raw spinach, our first vegetable to be careful with? 1 cup of raw spinach contains about 650 milligrams of oxalates. That is a significant load for aging kidneys. But 1 cup of cooked spinach contains only about 100 to 150 milligrams of oxalates because the cooking process breaks them down and some leach into the cooking water. If you pour off that water, you remove even more. So the same vegetable that can be problematic when raw becomes perfectly fine when cooked. That is not a contradiction. That is knowledge. The same applies to kale. A raw kale salad can be a challenge for your thyroid and your kidneys. But kale that has been lightly steamed or added to a bean soup loses most of its goitrogenic activity and a significant portion of its oxalates. You still get the fiber, the vitamins, and the antioxidants, but you lose the hidden stress on your body. That is a win. And beets. A raw beet salad or a glass of beet juice can spike your potassium and oxalate levels dangerously high if you have kidney concerns or take certain medications. But roasted beets, eaten in small portions as a side dish, are much safer because cooking concentrates some nutrients while reducing the overall volume you are likely to eat. No one sits down and eats 4 roasted beets the way they might drink 4 raw beets in a juice. The cooking method naturally encourages moderation. So here is my practical advice for you starting today. Look at your plate. If more than half of your vegetables are raw, especially if you are over 60, consider shifting that balance. Aim for about 70 to 80% of your vegetables to be cooked and only 20 to 30% raw. That raw portion should be things like a few slices of cucumber, some shredded carrot, a handful of lettuce, or a couple of cherry tomatoes. Not a massive raw kale and spinach salad. Not a bowl of shredded raw beets. Just small, gentle, raw accents to add freshness and crunch. And here is something else that matters: variety. Even among cooked vegetables, eating the same 3 vegetables every day is not ideal. Your body benefits from rotating what you eat because different vegetables contain different combinations of nutrients and plant compounds. Steamed asparagus one day, roasted zucchini the next, sautéed bell peppers, steamed green beans, roasted cauliflower, which by the way is much lower in oxalates than kale and becomes very gentle when cooked. Butternut squash, spaghetti squash, cooked mushrooms, which are not technically vegetables but function like them on your plate. There is a whole world of gentle, delicious, age-appropriate vegetables waiting for you. I also want to address something that might be on your mind. What if you have been eating raw spinach and raw kale every day for years and you feel fine? That is a fair question, and here is my honest answer. Some people have more resilient kidneys and more robust thyroid function than others. Genetics matter. Your individual health history matters. But here is what I have learned from decades of clinical practice. Many of the problems we attribute to aging are actually problems of accumulated load. Your kidneys may be handling raw spinach just fine at 60, but will they still handle it at 65? At 70? At 75? The damage from oxalates is often silent and cumulative. You do not feel it until one day you have your first kidney stone or your joint pain becomes unexplained. Prevention means making changes before you have a problem, not after. And if you are someone who truly loves raw salads and does not want to give them up, I hear you. Let me offer a compromise. Reduce the portion size. Instead of a huge salad bowl, have a small side salad. Instead of raw spinach as your base, use butter lettuce or arugula, which are much lower in oxalates. And add a generous amount of cooked vegetables on the side. That way you get the freshness you crave without overwhelming your body. Now, I promised you not just 3 vegetables to eat, but a philosophy that would serve you for life. And that philosophy is simply this: Honor your aging body by meeting it where it is. Do not try to eat like you did at 30. Do not follow nutrition advice written for college athletes or Instagram influencers. Follow advice that understands what happens to kidneys, thyroid, digestion, and medication metabolism after 60. That advice is harder to find because it is not flashy. It does not sell cookbooks or detox plans, but it is the truth, and it is what I have dedicated this channel to sharing. So here is where we go from here. In the remaining parts of this video, I want to walk you through exactly how to build a full day of eating after 60, using the vegetables we have discussed, and a few other key foods that support longevity. I want to show you what breakfast, lunch, and dinner could look like, not as a rigid meal plan, but as a template you can adapt to your own taste, culture, and budget. Because no two people are the same, and the last thing I want is for you to feel boxed in by rules. But before we do that, I want to pause and say something directly to you. If you have been watching this video and feeling a little overwhelmed, that is okay. This is new information for many people. You have spent years hearing that all vegetables are good all the time, and now I am asking you to think more carefully. That is a shift, and shifts take time. You do not have to change everything today. You do not have to throw out your spinach or your kale or your beets. Just start by cooking them more often than you eat them raw. Just start by adding one new vegetable from the safe list each week. Small steps, gentle changes. That is how sustainable health is built. And remember, I promised you a simple rule that would make all of this easy. Cook your vegetables. Eat raw vegetables in small amounts. That rule will never fail you. It works for every vegetable, every body, and every age after 60. Now, let me show you exactly what that looks like in real life. Coming up next, I am going to build a full day of eating using the principles we have talked about. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even snacks, all designed to support your kidneys, your joints, your thyroid, and your energy. No deprivation, no strange ingredients, just real food prepared simply that helps you feel your best at 60 and beyond. Let us take a moment together. We have covered a lot of ground. We talked about why raw spinach, raw kale, and raw beets in large amounts can become problematic after 60. We talked about the hidden risks of oxalates, goitrogens, and potassium overload. We talked about 3 safer, gentler vegetables to embrace: steamed asparagus, cooked zucchini, and roasted bell peppers. And I gave you the simple golden rule that ties everything together. Cook your vegetables more often than you eat them raw. Now, I want to do something even more practical. I want to walk you through a full day of eating. Not a rigid meal plan that tells you exactly what to eat on Monday and exactly what to eat on Tuesday. That is not how real life works. Instead, I want to give you a template. A flexible, adaptable example that shows you how to apply these principles to breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even snacks. You can take this template and adjust it to your own taste, your own culture, your own budget, and your own kitchen. Let us start with breakfast, and I want to be honest with you. Most people over 60 do not eat enough vegetables at breakfast. That is fine. You do not have to force vegetables into your morning meal if that does not appeal to you. But if you enjoy a savory breakfast, there is a beautiful opportunity here. Imagine 2 eggs, cooked gently in a little olive oil or butter. On the side, a small handful of sautéed zucchini and bell peppers. Not a huge portion, just a 1/4 cup of each. Cook them until they are soft and lightly golden. Season with a pinch of salt, some black pepper, and maybe a little fresh or dried herbs like thyme or oregano. This is gentle on your digestion. It gives you protein, healthy fat, and 2 of the safe vegetables we talked about. And because they are cooked, you are not stressing your kidneys or your thyroid first thing in the morning. If you prefer a sweeter breakfast, that is fine too. Consider a small bowl of oatmeal made with rolled oats, not the instant kind. Stir in a tablespoon of ground flaxseed for fiber and omega-3 fatty acids. Top with a small handful of blueberries or sliced strawberries. And here is a trick. If you want to add vegetables to a sweet breakfast without really noticing them, You can blend a small amount of cooked zucchini or cooked cauliflower into your oatmeal while it is hot. They disappear completely into the texture. You will not taste them at all, but you will get the gentle fiber and nutrients without any raw vegetable stress. And please, watch your morning beverages. Many people start the day with a green smoothie packed with raw spinach and raw kale. After everything we have discussed, you understand why that might not be the best choice. If you love smoothies, consider switching to cooked and cooled vegetables. You can steam spinach or kale and then freeze it in small portions. When you blend it into a smoothie, it is no longer raw. You reduce the oxalate load significantly while keeping the convenience. Or better yet, skip the leafy greens in your smoothie and use a small handful of frozen zucchini or frozen cauliflower instead. Both blend into a creamy, neutral base that you will not taste, especially when combined with berries, a little banana, and some plant milk or yogurt. Now, let us talk about lunch. This is often the meal where people over 60 make their biggest vegetable mistakes. Lunch is when the giant raw salad happens. The big bowl of spinach with shredded raw beets and raw kale. After what you have learned, I hope you are already thinking differently about that. So here is an alternative that still feels fresh and satisfying, but is much safer for your body. Start with a bed of cooked grains. Quinoa, farro, or brown rice all work beautifully. These are warm, gentle bases that support stable blood sugar and provide lasting energy. On top of the grains, add a generous portion of roasted vegetables. Think roasted bell peppers, roasted zucchini, roasted asparagus, or roasted cauliflower. You can roast a big batch of mixed vegetables at the beginning of the week and reheat them for lunch each day. Then add a smaller portion of raw elements. A few slices of cucumber, some shredded carrot, a handful of arugula or butter lettuce, which are much lower in oxalates than spinach or kale. Add a source of protein, grilled chicken, baked fish, chickpeas, or lentils, and finish with a simple dressing made from olive oil, lemon juice, a little mustard, and some herbs. Notice the balance here. The majority of the vegetables are cooked, only a small accent is raw. This is the 70-30 principle I mentioned earlier. Your kidneys and your thyroid will thank you. And because the raw elements are low oxalate choices like cucumber and arugula, you are further reducing any hidden stress. If you prefer a warm lunch, consider a vegetable soup. Soup is one of the most underrated tools for healthy aging after 60. When you cook vegetables in broth, you soften them completely. You break down oxalates. You make every nutrient more accessible. And you get the added benefit of hydration, which becomes more important as you age because the sensation of thirst often dulls. A simple soup made with zucchini, bell peppers, carrots, celery, and some beans or lentils is a complete meal. You can make a large pot on the weekend and eat it for lunch all week. Add a side of whole grain bread if you want more substance. And you have a lunch that is safe, satisfying, and deeply nourishing. Now let us move to dinner. This is where most people have the easiest time eating cooked vegetables because dinner is traditionally a warm meal. But I want to help you make choices that maximize benefit while minimizing risk. A beautiful dinner plate for someone over 60 might look like this. A palm-sized portion of protein, salmon, chicken, turkey, tofu, or eggs. A generous cup of cooked vegetables, steamed asparagus with a squeeze of lemon, roasted zucchini and bell peppers, sautéed green beans, or a mix of several gentle vegetables, and a small serving of a complex carbohydrate, sweet potato, which is actually much lower in oxalates than regular potatoes, quinoa, brown rice, or a small piece of whole grain bread. Here is a specific dinner idea that I think you will love. Take a baking sheet, toss chopped zucchini, bell peppers, red onion, and asparagus spears with olive oil, salt, pepper, and a little garlic powder. Roast at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. While the vegetables roast, cook a piece of salmon in a pan with a little more olive oil. When everything is done, put the salmon on a plate and surround it with the roasted vegetables. Squeeze fresh lemon over everything. That is it. That is a complete, delicious, age-appropriate dinner. The vegetables are cooked, so they are gentle on your kidneys and thyroid. The salmon gives you omega-3 fatty acids for brain and heart health. and the whole meal comes together in under 30 minutes. If you are vegetarian or prefer plant-based meals, replace the salmon with a cup of cooked chickpeas or lentils. Toss them on the roasting sheet with the vegetables for the last 10 minutes of cooking. They will absorb the olive oil and seasonings and become wonderfully flavorful. Now, let us talk about snacks. This is an area where many people over 60 run into trouble without realizing it. Raw vegetable snacks. Carrot sticks, celery sticks, bell pepper strips. All of those are fine in small amounts. But if you are mindlessly snacking on raw vegetables throughout the day, the oxalate load can add up. A few carrot sticks is not a problem. A whole bag of raw baby carrots every day is different. So here is my advice for snacks. If you want vegetables as a snack, consider having a small portion of leftover cooked vegetables from dinner. Cold roasted zucchini is actually quite delicious. Or make a small batch of hummus and dip raw vegetables into it, but keep the raw portion to about half a cup total. Better yet, choose snacks that are not vegetables at all. A small handful of nuts, a piece of fruit, a hard-boiled egg, a few olives, a small bowl of Greek yogurt. These give you nutrients and satisfaction without any oxalate load at all. I also want to address something that might be confusing. What about frozen vegetables? Are they safe? Yes, absolutely. Frozen vegetables are typically blanched, which means they are briefly cooked in hot water before freezing. That blanching process reduces oxalates just like cooking at home does. So frozen spinach, frozen kale, and even frozen beets are already partially cooked. They are much safer than fresh, raw versions. You can take frozen spinach straight from the bag and add it to soups, stews, or omelets without worrying about the oxalate load, the way you would with fresh, raw spinach. This is a wonderful shortcut for busy days. And what about canned vegetables? Canned vegetables are fully cooked during the canning process. They are safe from an oxalate perspective. However, I do want you to be careful about sodium. Many canned vegetables have added salt. Look for low sodium or no salt added versions. And always drain and rinse them before eating to remove excess sodium. Canned green beans, canned carrots, and canned tomatoes can be convenient pantry staples. Just be mindful of portion sizes and variety. Now, I want to pause here because I know this is a lot of information. You might be wondering how to remember all of this. You might be worried that eating has become too complicated. I want to reassure you, it is not complicated. The template I just gave you is simple. Cooked vegetables at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Raw vegetables only as small accents. Protein at every meal. Healthy fats. Complex carbohydrates in moderation. That is it. That is the entire framework. Everything else is just details you can adjust based on what you like and what is available. In the next part of this video, I want to talk about something that often gets overlooked in conversations about vegetables and aging. Medication interactions. We touched on this earlier with blood thinners and potassium medications, but there is so much more to understand. Common medications for blood pressure, cholesterol, acid reflux, and even over-the-counter pain relievers can change how your body responds to vegetables, and most doctors do not have time to explain this to you. I do, so stay with me. The most practical medication and vegetable guide you have ever heard is coming right up. We have been talking about vegetables, about oxalates, goitrogens, potassium, and the gentle power of cooking. But there is another layer to this conversation that I cannot in good conscience ignore. It is the layer that connects the food on your plate directly to the medications in your cabinet. And let me be honest with you, this is where most health advice falls apart. You will hear all about superfoods and detoxes and anti-inflammatory diets. But almost no one talks about how your blood pressure medication, your thyroid pill, your blood thinner, or even your over-the-counter pain reliever changes the way your body responds to a simple plate of vegetables. I am going to talk about that now, not to scare you, to empower you. Let us start with blood thinners. Medically, we call them anticoagulants. Warfarin is the most common one, but there are others like apixaban and rivaroxaban. If you take warfarin, you have probably been told to be consistent with vitamin K, And that is correct. Vitamin K helps your blood clot. Warfarin works by blocking vitamin K. So if you suddenly eat a huge amount of vitamin K, you can make your medication less effective. If you suddenly stop eating vitamin K, you can make your medication too strong and increase your risk of bleeding. The vegetables highest in vitamin K are exactly the ones we have been talking about: spinach, kale, and other dark leafy greens. But here is what most people are not told. You do not need to avoid these vegetables completely. You need to be consistent. If you eat a small, cooked portion of spinach every Tuesday and Thursday, your body and your medication adjust. The problem comes when you eat no spinach for 2 weeks and then have a massive raw spinach salad. That sudden change is what disrupts your INR levels and puts you at risk. So the rule is simple. If you take warfarin, do not avoid vitamin K vegetables. Just eat them in the same small cooked amount day after day. Now let us talk about blood pressure medications. There are several classes and each one interacts with vegetables differently. The ones I want you to pay closest attention to are ACE inhibitors and ARBs. These are medications like lisinopril, enalapril, losartan, and valsartan. These medications cause your body to retain potassium, and as we discussed earlier, certain vegetables are very high in potassium. Beets are at the top of that list. Also spinach, Swiss chard, and baked potatoes with the skin. If you are taking an ACE inhibitor or an ARB, and you also start eating large amounts of high potassium vegetables every day, your potassium levels can creep up. Mildly high potassium might cause nothing more than some muscle fatigue or a little tingling in your fingers. But very high potassium can cause dangerous heart rhythm problems. This does not mean you should avoid high potassium vegetables. Your body needs potassium. It means you should not suddenly add massive amounts of them to your daily diet without telling your doctor. And you should especially avoid concentrated forms like beet juice or daily green smoothies made with spinach. A normal portion of cooked vegetables, even high potassium ones, is usually fine. The danger is in the large, daily, concentrated load. There is another class of blood pressure medication called potassium-sparing diuretics. Spironolactone and eplerenone are the most common. These medications are designed to help your body get rid of excess fluid without losing too much potassium. But the trade-off is that they also make it harder for your kidneys to remove potassium. So again, large amounts of high potassium vegetables can become a problem. If you take one of these medications, I am not telling you to stop eating beets or spinach. I am telling you to eat them in small, cooked portions and to have your doctor check your potassium levels regularly. That is just good medicine. Now let us talk about thyroid medication. Levothyroxine is one of the most commonly prescribed medications in the world, especially for people over 60. And here is something that frustrates me. Many people take their thyroid medication every morning and then eat breakfast 30 minutes later, thinking they are doing everything right. But if that breakfast includes raw kale, raw spinach, or even large amounts of raw broccoli or raw cauliflower, you may be interfering with the absorption of your medication. The goitrogens in raw cruciferous vegetables can bind to thyroid medication and reduce how much gets into your system. The solution is not to avoid these vegetables. The solution is to eat them cooked and to eat them later in the day, not right with your morning medication. Take your levothyroxine on an empty stomach. Wait at least an hour, and then enjoy your cooked vegetables at lunch or dinner. That simple timing shift can make a real difference in how you feel. Let me also mention cholesterol medications. Statins like atorvastatin, simvastatin, and rosuvastatin are very common. These medications do not have direct dangerous interactions with vegetables the way blood thinners and potassium-sparing diuretics do. But there is an indirect interaction worth knowing about. Grapefruit and grapefruit juice are well known to interfere with statin metabolism, making the medication build up to dangerous levels in your blood. That is about fruit, not vegetables. But here is the vegetable connection. Some people try to lower their cholesterol naturally by eating large amounts of raw vegetables and cutting out almost all fat. That sounds healthy on the surface. But your body needs some dietary fat to absorb fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. And if you are on a statin, your body is already working hard to manage cholesterol. A very low-fat diet can actually make your vitamin levels drop. So when you eat your cooked vegetables, cook them with a little olive oil or add some avocado or nuts to your meal. That small amount of healthy fat helps you absorb the nutrients from the vegetables you are eating. Now, what about metformin? This is the most common medication for type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes. Metformin can lower your levels of vitamin B12 over time, which can cause fatigue, nerve issues, and cognitive fog. That is not directly about vegetables, but it is relevant because certain vegetables are good sources of B12. No, actually, vegetables do not contain B12. That comes from animal products or fortified foods. However, the gut bacteria that help you absorb B12 thrive on fiber from vegetables. So if you are on metformin, eating a variety of cooked vegetables supports your gut health, which in turn supports your ability to maintain healthy B12 levels. The key word is variety. Do not just eat the same 3 vegetables every week. Eat asparagus, zucchini, bell peppers, green beans, carrots, cauliflower, broccoli, mushrooms, and others. Each one feeds different beneficial bacteria in your gut, and a diverse gut microbiome is one of the most powerful tools for healthy aging. Let me also talk about proton pump inhibitors. These are medications for acid reflux and heartburn. Omeprazole, esomeprazole, lansoprazole, and others. These medications reduce stomach acid, and while that helps with reflux, it also changes how your body digests vegetables. You need stomach acid to break down plant cell walls and release the nutrients inside. If you take a PPI every day and also eat large amounts of raw vegetables, you may not be digesting them well. You might feel bloated, gassy, or uncomfortably full after meals. The solution again is cooking. Cooked vegetables are already partially broken down. Your stomach does not have to work as hard to access their nutrients. So if you take a PPI, make sure the majority of your vegetables are cooked, not raw. Your digestion will thank you. And one more. Over-the-counter pain relievers. Ibuprofen, naproxen, and aspirin. These medications can irritate the lining of your stomach, especially if you take them regularly for arthritis or other chronic pain. Eating large amounts of raw, fibrous vegetables like raw broccoli, raw cauliflower, or raw kale can further irritate your stomach because the tough fiber requires more work to digest. If you take these pain relievers even a few times a week, consider eating your vegetables cooked and soft, steamed, roasted, or added to soups. Your stomach lining will have a much easier time healing and protecting itself. Now, I want to say something that might sound contradictory after all of this. Do not become afraid of your medications. And do not become afraid of your vegetables. Both are tools to help you live a longer, healthier life. The problem is not the medication. The problem is not the vegetable. The problem is the mismatch. When you take a medication that changes how your body handles potassium, and you eat a vegetable that is very high in potassium, and you eat it raw in a large amount every day, that mismatch can cause harm. But when you understand the mismatch, you can adjust. You can cook the vegetable. You can eat a smaller portion. You can eat it at a different time of day. You can choose a different vegetable. These are small changes that produce big results. Here is what I want you to do after watching this video. Make a list of the medications you take every day. Just a simple list on a piece of paper or in your phone. Next to each medication, write down what it does. Blood pressure, blood thinner, thyroid, diabetes, reflux, pain. Then go back through this section of the video and note which interactions might apply to you. You do not need to memorize everything, you just need awareness. And then, the next time you see your doctor, bring that list. Ask them specifically, are there any vegetables I should be careful with given my medications? And are there any vegetables you want me to eat more of? Most doctors will be genuinely impressed that you asked, and you will walk out of that appointment with personalized guidance that no YouTube video can give you. Because that is the truth. I can give you general principles. Cook your vegetables. Eat raw in small amounts. Watch out for high oxalate greens and high potassium roots if you have kidney concerns or take certain medications. But only your doctor, who knows your full medical history, your lab results, and your exact medication doses, can give you the final word. So use this video as education. Use it as a starting point, and then take that education to your medical appointments. Be an active participant in your own care. That is what HealthWise with Dr. Narges is all about. In the final part of this video, I want to bring everything together. I want to give you a one-page summary in your mind, a checklist you can use every time you sit down to eat. No complicated rules, no fear, just a calm, clear way to make choices that support your health after 60. That is coming right now. We have traveled a long road together in this video. We started with a surprising truth, that some vegetables, as healthy as they are, can become problematic for the body after 60. We talked about raw spinach and its oxalates, raw kale and its goitrogens, raw beets and their concentrated potassium. We talked about 3 safer, gentler vegetables to embrace: steamed asparagus, cooked zucchini, and roasted bell peppers. We talked about the golden rule: cook your vegetables more often than you eat them raw. We walked through a full day of eating: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. We talked about the hidden ways your medications interact with the vegetables on your plate. And now, it is time to bring everything together into something simple. Something you can actually use every day without a notebook or a degree in nutrition. So here is your one-page summary. Your calm, clear checklist for eating vegetables after 60. No fear, no confusion, just wisdom. Number 1. Cook most of your vegetables. This is the single most important change you can make. Steaming, roasting, sautéing, or adding to soups and stews. Cooking reduces oxalates, softens fiber, and makes nutrients more available. Aim for about 70 to 80% of your vegetables to be cooked, only 20 to 30% raw. Number 2. When you do eat raw vegetables, choose low oxalate options. Good choices include cucumber, arugula, butter lettuce, radicchio, celery, and bell peppers. Avoid large amounts of raw spinach, raw kale, raw Swiss chard, and raw beets. A few leaves here and there is fine. A giant salad bowl every day is not. Number 3. Rotate your vegetables throughout the week. Do not eat the same 3 vegetables every single day. Variety reduces the chance of any one compound building up in your body. It also feeds a diverse population of beneficial bacteria in your gut. Monday asparagus, Tuesday zucchini, Wednesday bell peppers, Thursday green beans, Friday cauliflower, Saturday mushrooms, Sunday a mix of everything. You do not need to be strict, just be varied. Number 4. Match your vegetable choices to your medications. If you take warfarin or another blood thinner, keep your vitamin K intake consistent. Eat small, cooked portions of leafy greens at the same frequency each week. If you take an ACE inhibitor, ARB, or potassium-sparing diuretic, be mindful of high potassium vegetables like beets, spinach, and baked potato skins. Small portions are fine. Large daily servings are not. If you take thyroid medication, take it on an empty stomach and wait at least an hour before eating raw cruciferous vegetables. And consider cooking those vegetables for your later meals. If you take a PPI for acid reflux, lean heavily toward cooked vegetables to support your reduced stomach acid. If you take metformin, focus on a wide variety of vegetables to support your gut health and B12 absorption. And if you take over-the-counter pain relievers regularly, keep your vegetables soft and cooked to protect your stomach lining. Number 5. Add healthy fat to your cooked vegetables. A drizzle of olive oil, a few slices of avocado, a handful of nuts or seeds. Fat helps your body absorb the fat-soluble vitamins found in vegetables. Vitamin A for your eyes and immune system. Vitamin D for your bones. Vitamin E for your skin and cells. Vitamin K for your blood and bones. Without fat, you are eating vegetables and missing much of their benefit. So do not be afraid of a little olive oil. It is medicine for your cells. Number 6. Listen to your body after you eat. This is the most underrated tool in all of medicine. If you eat a meal and feel bloated, gassy, or uncomfortably full, your body is telling you something. Maybe you ate too many raw vegetables. Maybe you ate a vegetable that does not agree with you. Maybe your stomach acid is low or your digestion is slow. Instead of ignoring those signals, pay attention to them. Keep a simple mental note. When I eat raw kale salad, I feel bloated for hours. When I eat roasted zucchini with olive oil, I feel light and energized. Your body is always talking to you. The question is whether you are listening. Number 7, do not let perfect be the enemy of good. You do not need to follow every rule I have shared today to see real benefits. If you are currently eating a giant raw spinach salad every day, just switching to cooked spinach 3 days a week is progress. If you are currently drinking beet juice every morning, just cutting back to twice a week and cooking your beets instead of eating them raw is progress. Small changes, consistently applied, produce enormous results over months and years. Do not overwhelm yourself by trying to change everything at once. Pick one change, just one. Do it for 2 weeks, then pick another. That is how sustainable health is built. Number 8, stay hydrated. This may seem unrelated to vegetables, but it is deeply connected. Your kidneys need adequate water to process oxalates and other natural compounds from plants. If you eat a diet rich in vegetables but do not drink enough water, you increase your risk of kidney stones and kidney stress. Aim for 6 to 8 cups of water per day, more if you are active or live in a hot climate. Herbal tea, infused water, and even the broth from vegetable soup all count. Your kidneys will thank you. Number 9, keep a simple food and symptom journal for 2 weeks. Not forever, just 14 days. Write down what you ate and how you felt an hour later and the next morning. You may discover patterns you never noticed before. That afternoon fatigue you blamed on getting older might actually be coming from the raw kale salad you eat every day for lunch. That morning stiffness you blamed on arthritis might actually be connected to the raw spinach in your smoothie. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. Just gather data on your own body. That data is more valuable than any study I could cite. Number 10, be kind to yourself. This is the most important one, so please hear me clearly. You have spent decades hearing that all vegetables are good all the time. You have been doing your best. You have been trying to eat well and take care of your body. If you have been eating raw spinach and raw kale and raw beets every day, you were not wrong. You were acting on the best information available. Now you have better information. That is not a failure. That is growth. So no guilt, no shame, just a gentle shift toward a smarter way of eating for the body you have today, not the body you had 20 years ago. Now, let me leave you with one final thought. Aging is not a disease. It is a process. And like any process, it can be understood, respected, and worked with. The body that carried you through your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s is the same body that is carrying you through your 60s and beyond. It is just changed. And change is not something to fight. It is something to listen to. When you cook your vegetables instead of eating them raw, you are not giving up anything. You are gaining easier digestion, less inflammation, and better absorption of nutrients. You are honoring the wisdom of your own body. I created this channel, Healthwise with Dr. Narges, because I believe that health information should be calm, clear, and kind. Not loud, not scary, not selling you anything. Just honest medical insight that helps you make better decisions for your own life. If that is the kind of content you value, I would be honored to have you subscribe. Not because algorithms tell me to ask, but because building a community of thoughtful, curious people who want to age well is the entire reason I am here. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for being willing to learn something new about your health after 60. And thank you for trusting me to guide you through it. I am Dr. Narges, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, be well, be curious, and remember, cook your vegetables. Your body will know the difference.